Nikki with Discarding Betty, and I am back for video number 2. We are going to discard Betty and we're going to feed Betty. She's hungry. She hasn't eaten since, well, probably about 24 hours now. So she's really hungry, and I also didn't feed her the day before. So it's actually been, I fed her last night, so she got fed. She didn't get fed after 24 hours, and now she's gonna get fed again, if that makes any sense. So basically I skipped a day. Sometimes when I do that with her, she just gets really alive when I feed her if I miss a feeding. I would have never have done that before because I was so scared about killing Betty, since I had, as we all know, killed Betty 1 and Betty 2. But Betty 3.0 is alive and good. So let's wake her up. She is in her micro house, AKA microwave, but I call it micro house because this is where she is housed most of the time. Oh, look, she's still up. She's good. You can see where she started. This band represents where she started last night. I fed her last night about this exact same time. It's about 7 o'clock in the evening. This morning when I checked on her, she was all the way up to here, and now she's gone down to about here. So she more than doubled in size and is still alive. So she is ready to go. Betty's sensitive. So we have to be gentle with our sourdough starter because a lot of them are sensitive. Betty isn't the only sensitive one. Betty number 1 was, we apparently have a lot of chlorine in our water here in the town I live in, and that water that I fed her with had too much chlorine and it killed her. So one thing that I do is I have 2 of these lovely Beretta water jugs. So I keep one, this is a much smaller one than the one in my refrigerator, but I always keep one on my counter at room temperature, and that's basically for Betty. And it's also for the dog water too, and the cat water. I fill their water bowls up with that water too. So I figure if it's good enough for me to drink, it's good enough for them to drink as well. And of course, Betty needs that water, that filtered water too. She's done really well with this filtered water. I've been doing that for quite a while with her. So I have already put some water in this little adorable creamer. I love little dishes. So I've already put some water in there, and I do that because sometimes it's hard if I'm just putting 2 ounces in. Sometimes it's harder to handle this than it is to handle a little tiny creamer. So that's why I use that. As far as flour goes, I really don't have a rhyme or reason for using the King Arthur bread flour, except that that's pretty much what everybody else is using. So it's good enough for everybody else. It's good enough for me. It's supposed to be a good bread flour, and so that's the bread flour that I use. You can use, I'm sure, any kind of bread flour. I have some friends that use rye flour with bread flour. I've not done that. I'm nervous to do that because I've kind of got a roll and a thing going here with Betty. So I'm not going to mix it up at this point. Now, when I purchased this jar and lid, and it came with this temperature gauge here, which it's at 70. I have taken it out of her micro house, so she does really well at about 72. And I keep her warm because I keep this light on underneath the microwave, and so it keeps it pretty warm in here. Not as warm as I would like it in the winter, but it's better than nothing. And I also keep my house at about 72 during the day, and then way low at night. This is about right, but when I first got her out, she was at 72. So the first 2 Bettys didn't get the luxury of having a temperature gauge, but like I said, before I killed the first 2 Bettys, I wanted to make sure that I had it, like all the things to make sure that I kept this Betty alive. So I don't know that it's necessary. I've seen a lot of people that have it and don't have it. I don't need it really now. I kind of know where we are and what I'm doing now. But anyway, it came with this set, and then so did this band. it's just an elastic band. Before I had this though, I was just using a rubber band as a marker. So you can certainly use whatever you want as a marker. Some people use, I have seen them use a Post-it note, you know, and cut it and just put the sticky part right there. Another thing I've used as well is this wasabi tape. It's not wasabi tape. Washi tape. Washi tape. Oh my goodness. Wasabi is the green stuff that you eat. Washi tape. And I just basically tear a piece off and will, you know, put it right to wherever she's at once she's been fed so I can see her growth. I do always mark it. I love to see her growth. I like to see that she has doubled in size and or is staying above what she originally was. So this stir stick is what came with the jar and the elastic band and the temperature gauge. And I love this. I love it for many reasons. I use it for baking anything, cookies. You don't have to scrape a bowl. Or it's a great silicone spatula. And then I already had this one. This did not come with that set, but this is just another great one. And I've used it as well. And I really like it too. However, I can't give credit where credit is due because I don't remember where I learned about this on my sourdough journey. But at some point along my journey, somebody had said like all their utensils were dirty or whatever, and they decided to pull out chopsticks and use a chopstick to stir. And I was like, that's interesting. And I didn't, you know, it kind of in one ear and out the other. And then I was preparing for a garage sale and found a little tub of a bunch of chopsticks. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to try it. And you know what? It's my favorite stir stick. So this is just a plain little chopstick. I actually went to a dinner party and we had an Asian themed dinner and everybody had these as a gift when you left. So I have several of these wood ones. This is like a porcelain one kind of, I think. But anyway, so this is what I use for my stir stick. I love it. So you use what you want to use. Everybody has their favorite thing. I've seen all different kinds of things being used, from wood spoons, the bottom of a wood spoon. So like this part of a wood spoon. And I've actually used that as well. And I do like it, but man, I just keep going back to the chopstick. I just really like it. So that's what we're gonna use tonight. So the first thing we're gonna do once she's ready to be discarded and fed again, we are going to give her, oh, she's good. She's really good. I don't know if I could put this up, if you'll be able to hear it or not. You can just kind of hear the popping. She's very alive and she's like pancake batter, which is awesome, right? So I just give her a really good stir once I get her out of her micro house to refeed her. And that's good enough. Just a few little turns. And then again, like I said, I love little jars, and this is just an old jelly jar. And this is what I'm gonna put my discard in. And this is about a 1 cup, maybe a little bit over, but not much. So I'm gonna fill this up because this is what we're going to make our fried bread with later on. That's right. Tonight, after we feed Betty, we're going to make some fried bread. Very easy fried bread. So I'm just gonna sit that aside for now since we're not gonna use it. So discarding her, I have about, it looks like about 4 ounces in here. So when you feed your sourdough discard, you're gonna put in, if it's 4 ounces, you're gonna put 4 ounces of water in and 4 ounces of flour in. This is why you always wanna discard unless you're making lots of batches of bread. I am not doing that. I, in fact, don't hardly even make bread as much anymore because I love playing with the discard. So many fabulous recipes out there with the discard, and some that I have even come up with myself that I am quite impressed with, but that's beside the point. If you were always feeding and never discarding, you know, so say you have 12 ounces, then you got to put 12 ounces of water and 12 ounces of flour, and you've got to go to a much bigger jar or container of some sort. And I do see people that have done that because they're making a lot of sourdough bread loaves. I am not doing that. So 4 ounces, I always go somewhere between 2 and 4 ounces. I'm not going to be baking for a while or doing anything. I'll take her down to 2, and that way when she grows, it's not as much to discard. I also have a large container in my refrigerator full of discard too. It's a Saturday and it's rainy, and I'm gonna make cookies, and maybe I am gonna make a loaf of bread, or I'm gonna make a different kind of bread, not sourdough bread, but I'm gonna use the sourdough discard to make a different kind of bread or rolls or cinnamon rolls. Then I need more discard, and I can just use that right out of the refrigerator. It's good for, the average is about 6 to 8 weeks. I've heard people leaving it in there for several months. I have not done that yet because I go through it and I use it. And then I also have people that want a little piece of Betty. And so if that is the case, then I will take some of out of the refrigerator, I'll feed it to bring it kind of back alive again, and then I will turn it over to its new owner. So, and I'll show you here, I've got one that is getting ready to go to a friend, and it's actually more than she actually needs, and I will discard, I will stir, discard, and feed this Betty Betty's baby. I will feed Betty's baby. You can see this has been in the refrigerator for about a week now, and you can see the watery substance here at the top. That's okay. Nothing's wrong. It's not dead. I thought Betty 2 was dead because of this, and it's not. It's called, I'm gonna try to say it without laughing. I don't know why this cracks me up every time. It's the eternal 4th grader in me, but it's called hooch. That's what that water is called, hooch. So you just stir the hooch in to the sourdough starter, and you can discard and feed and sit her out, and she's ready to go, okay? So I can also just stir her and not feed her and use this discard to make something. This is Betty's baby. All right, I'm gonna put Betty's baby back in the incubator here. I also have a very large container in there that has like a suction lid on it. I mean, it's like that I have discard in, and I need to either use it or probably throw it away. It's been in there a while now, but I might bake a lot this weekend and I have a hard time letting go. So, story of my life. Okay, so that's just a little bit about feeding and discarding. If you are not gonna save back some discard to cook with or bake with, then do not, whatever you do not throw it or pour it down your sink. This is like cement, and you can see here on the edges, I mean, it's cement. Oh, I flicked some out, but it's tough, and that is what will cake the inside of your pipes and cause havoc on your pipes. So I just discard her in the trash can. I always have a liner in my trash can. Whatever works for you, just not down your drain. So, okay, let's feed her. She's starving. I have a scale here, a lovely scale, and this even pulls out so that, you know, I guess so that you can see it close. I don't know why it pulls out. I don't really use the pull out part. This is a scale that when you turn it on, you can zero it out, which is what I like to do when I'm feeding her. It also has grams and pounds, so you can measure both. So I'm gonna put her on right now. She's 1 pound, 4 ounces. She's just a little baby. And I'm gonna zero her out. So she's 0, and I got it in pounds because this is in ounces here. So I know we have, I think we might have even a body. Got Benny down here. No, it's about 4 ounces. So I am going to put in first 4 ounces of water. See what we got. Ooh, love it when it comes out perfect. It's exactly 4 ounces. Yay! Okay, and we're gonna give that a good stir. Just the water and what's left of Betty in there, the starter. So I'm just gonna give it a nice good stir, and then we're just gonna put her back on the scale again, zero it back out, because now we're gonna put in 4 ounces of flour. And like I said, I'm using my King Arthur bread flour, and 3 3/4. I love getting it right on the dollar. Yes, I did 4 ounces. Okay, love that. It's the little things in life. And I also made a little mess, which is good. Usually I've got flour everywhere. Now we're just gonna stir in really well that flour and water together in the starter. So this should really be like pancake batter, and it is, very much so. It'll be more pancakey here in a second. And this is why I like this so much, because it really breaks through those kind of flour balls, pellets, and mixes up so much better than anything else I use. So I'm a big fan of the old chopstick. So I've given her a good stir now. Pancake batter. So she's perfect. I love side scraped. I love a good side scrape. Get them as clean as possible. And she's pretty alive. So I bet in the morning she's gonna be overflowing, which is great because I'm actually going to attempt to make another loaf of sourdough bread this weekend. I'm gonna try anyway. I'm also gonna make some other things for this channel, but definitely gonna try to do some bread. I'm out, I need some, and I have some family members that would like to have some too. So that's all you have to do. Now, one thing I do with my chopstick is I just take a paper towel or a washcloth. I prefer a paper towel because I throw it away, and I just give it a good wipe. And then I always have in my sink, I always have, when I'm cooking or baking, I always have a little, like a large coffee mug or a small bowl of some sort that has warm soapy water in it, so that when I am done with what I'm using, I can just stick it in there and then it's ready to go into the dishwasher. I'm going to put her lid on, and when you put the lid on, you just barely put it on. You want her to have air. A lot of people use cloths. I had a cloth with elastic on it before, and I liked it a lot, but I kept having to wash it over and over and over again because she just was out of control. I'll try to find a picture and post it right here, right now. But she has just bubbled up and over. I threw it away because it's hard to get that out even in warm soapy water. Now just use this lid and she works perfectly. I've seen people put cloths over with like a rubber band around it, paper towels, put a paper towel over it with a rubber band around it. But that's what I do. And then I take my band, sit it down. Maybe I'll turn it that way. I don't use that part of it. I just use the band for measuring where I'm at, because I know when I'm feeding and not feeding. I can see where you might forget if you got a lot going on in your household, but I am on top of Betty these days. So now we will see what she does tomorrow, and we're gonna put her in her micro house and she is ready to go to bed for the night and do her thing. So we're just gonna put her up. All right, good night, Betty. And she's in for the night. Okay, so next we are going to make some wonderful fried bread with prosciutto, brie, Parmesan cheese, fresh basil, and I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Maybe some feta. I don't know, that might be too much cheese going on. I might not do that. And then I got some lavender honey at Farmer's Market. I love Farmer's Market. Look at this beautiful tomato. I cannot wait to have some BLTs with that sourdough bread I'm gonna make. I got some lavender honey from a honey farm, a local honey farm from Farmer's Market, and I am so excited to use it as well. And so I'm just gonna drizzle some lavender honey over the top of that fried bread with all the goodness on it, and I think it's gonna be pretty good. We'll see. I've never had lavender honey, so we will see. So I will be right back. All right, we are back and we're gonna make some really easy fried bread. So I already have my iron skillet heated. You can kind of see some smoke coming off of it. I may have it too hot, so I may have to turn it down here a little bit. I used 100% pure avocado oil. So I used that or extra virgin olive oil. I'm really right now in this avocado mode, and so I've been using it on everything. I go back and forth, so but that's what I'm using today for that. I have my sourdough discard here that we're going to pour in. I know this pan is hot because it's been on for a while, but one thing I learned from my mom, that if your pan is, you're not sure if your pan is hot or not, and you're ready to start making something, if you will just take some water and do that and back off really fast, your pan's hot. So my pan is definitely hot. I didn't need to use that much water, but I did. So anyway, I think our pan is ready. It's probably even too hot. I hope I don't burn this. Fingers crossed. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it in. Betty's discard. Isn't that great? So I will zoom in here in just a second. I'm just gonna get all that discard goodness out. Get every bit of it. Okay. So you can see how it looks a little bit, if you've ever made pancakes, it's very much like a pancake. It's gonna be thin like that, and it's also gonna have the bubbles, you know, on top and around the edges. And that is exactly what you want. I have it on about medium, and I am going to take some Himalayan salt and just sprinkle some of that on it. That's pure goodness right there. Benny, my dog, sitting on my foot. He just is ready for some attention. And then I'm gonna take some cracked black pepper and get that on top too. And garlic powder. My best friend, garlic powder. I love it. So I'm gonna do that. And then it is, I don't know if you can see or not, but it is, doesn't that look so good? You can see how it kind of puffs up a little bit. And this is flour and water. This is so fermented flour and water. It's so good for your gut health. This is one of the reasons why I started eating bread again, just sourdough. I don't eat other breads much. My favorite. Flip her over. what is this called? Spatula is not with me tonight. Okay, so, oh yeah. You know when it's ready to be flipped because it just comes right up. And I want to put some more avocado oil here on the pan and then just do a nice flip like that. Oh, so excited. So I am gonna put a little bit of salt on this side as well. I love Himalayan pink salt. You know, I was gonna have a glass of wine and then I decided maybe I don't want a glass of wine. This is a perfect meal for a glass of wine and I'm just undecided, and I thought, well, if I'm undecided, I'm just not gonna have a glass. But this is like a perfect kind of little Italian meal for a nice glass of wine. But now I'm thinking I'm not feeling it as much. Happens, right? Okay, so we're going to flip this back on its side. Oh, yep, it's got some nice brown there. So that's perfect. So I'm gonna turn this heat off. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I have a bunch of prosciutto I've already shredded. And I'm just gonna take this prosciutto. By the way, that's it with the fried bread. It's that easy. So I'm just gonna take some prosciutto here and kind of place it on the bread. And I am just going to, tear it off and put it on top of the prosciutto. This is so good. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm really hungry too. I had a protein shake for lunch today and that was it. I've got some fresh Parmesan cheese I'm gonna put on here. I'm gonna put some green onions on top of that. All right, here we go, in the oven. There's a couple of things that I'm gonna share that you can take with a grain of salt or you can use as well. And I know I already told you about, I always keep a little cup of soapy water in the sink that I can just put my tools in that I've been using in the kitchen. But one thing I always have too is a pen and a piece of paper. Guest checks, but I think they're perfect for the kitchen and they just make great little notes. And as I'm cooking or coming up with an idea or, you know, remember to take the trash out tomorrow, whatever it is. So I always keep a pen and paper right where I'm cooking because it seems like I'm always remembering something at the most awkward time that I can imagine that I don't have time to go to my phone and put it in my list. I did have the prosciutto in this bowl, but I always have usually a bowl a little bit bigger than this. I've got one of my grandma's bowls and you'll see it later on in some other videos. I have a lot of my grandmother's items in the kitchen that I like to use when I'm baking. So it just, she's no longer with us and it just kind of reminds me of her and me being in the kitchen with her. And same with my mom. I've got a lot of things that are my mom's too. I like to have a little bowl that I put trash in. So, or waste of any kind, food waste, a wrapper. So I'm not always going to the trash can and I can just put it in that bowl and then I've got all my trash in one bowl and then I can dump it off into the trash. Again, that was not my original idea. That was a Food Network idea from a long time ago when I used to watch all these cooking shows and dreamed of having my own cooking show one day. Didn't have my own cooking show one day. So, well, I guess I kind of do. I have a YouTube channel about sourdough discard. It's kind of a cooking show. We're cooking and baking. The thing I always have in my kitchen when I'm cooking, it's just in my kitchen all the time, is I have a picture of my grandma and let's see if you can see it. My grandma and great grandma. They're both of course gone now. They are my baking and cooking icons. And so is my mom. This is my grandma Frona and my grandma Lavira. And I called my great grandma great grandma, and I called my grandma Nan. I love having this in my kitchen, and I will just kind of move this so you can kind of see. I know my refrigerator probably stresses people out because it's a little gaudy, but it's just a bunch of family pictures and it's special to me. But I just keep it up here, and they're always overlooking me while I'm baking and cooking. And so that's just always been so special to me. And so those are just a few things that I do in my kitchen. So I just wanted to share that with you too. I think our fried bread is ready. Oh my gosh, I wish you could smell it. Oh, it smells divine. And I love cooking in an iron skillet. Again, this is a hand-me-down from many generations. Look at that fried bread. Isn't that awesome? I just put it in the oven for about 5 minutes at 350, basically until that brie kind of melts a little bit. So I'm just going to pull this out and put it right there. This is my little piece that was kind of on the side that fell off, and you're gonna hear the crunch of this fried bread. Just that by itself is great. That just has salt and pepper on it. Himalayan salt and pepper. If you wanna make this with no toppings, this is a great way to be able to have good sourdough bread. So easy to make. It just took us a few minutes to make this. And if you didn't have all the toppings on it, it would be even easier. I'm gonna bring the camera in and I'm gonna cut this so that you can hear, hopefully you can hear the crunch. We have the bread from the oven, still hot, so excited. It's almost like a mini pizza. You can see it's got a little bit of thickness, not much. You can see the heat off of it. Doesn't that look wonderful? We've got the prosciutto, the brie, the Parmesan, and green onion. Oh, and I should have put basil on it from my garden. I've got fresh basil, but that's okay. We'll do that for pizza we'll make. Little mini pizzas. Isn't that wonderful? It smells so good. I just wish I could just give this to you right through the camera. It smells so great. It's such an easy meal, 10 minutes maybe. I mean, it's just so easy, and you can make all the different kinds of things. I will show a picture right now. Greek fried bread that I made not too long ago with olives. Oh, it was so good too. And feta, I think it had feta and Parmesan cheese and a few other things on it. This is such an easy meal for me too. I can make when I get home from work. I've got to feed Betty anyway, so why not just discard and make some fried bread for my dinner. So, bon appetit. But so good. That brie. I forgot the honey. Look how cute this is. This is the lavender honey. Let's drizzle a little bit on one piece and see what we think. During the holidays, I love to do baked brie in croissant breading with honey and pecans and some different jams. I can't imagine that it would be that different from this lavender honey. We'll see. I can't believe I'm gonna say this actually made it better. That little touch of sweetness was so good. That's exactly what it needed. Saltiness of the Parmesan and the prosciutto, that little honey, and I mean, it's a hint of lavender. In fact, if I didn't tell you it wasn't lavender in the honey, you may not know. Love that. So what a great evening we've had together. We learned how to discard and feed Betty. We learned how to make wonderful fried bread with Betty's discard. And this is exactly what my channel is gonna be all about. It's going to be delicious discard dishes. I mean, can it get any better than that? From Sweet Betty and I, oh, she's already grown. Okay, so from Sweet Betty and I, we wish you the best delicious discard dishes. Mwah. Hi everyone, it is Nikki with Betty. Hi, it's Nikki with Betty Bakes. It's not Betty Bakes. Why do I keep saying that? So I've used this wasabi. Oh my goodness, I said it again. I didn't break it. Sounded like it, but I didn't.